and welcome to Let's Grow Speaks. Today is, I don't know, it's the 21st, I think. This is a bonus episode. That's right, kids. If you're looking for a regular wool shenanigan episode, then go back and look for a numbered one. This is a bonus episode in which I'm going to kind of give like a garden update and a little bit of a garden tour, talk about what I'm planning, what I did differently than last year. It's not going to be like a, because obviously I haven't gotten to the end of the season yet, but it'll be something like that. Basically, we're just sitting at the kitchen table. I got out all my seeds and we're just going to talk about what happened this year so far. So, let's get into it. Thank you to all the patrons of the podcast, whether that's via Patreon, whether it's via PayPal, whether it's via Ko-Fi, whether it's via the shop at fatsquirrelfibers.com. Big thanks to all of you. Everybody else, send them out psychic hugs or psychic well wishes of lifting. It says not everybody likes hugs. I forget that sometimes, but just lift them up psychically for a second. They make these bonus episodes possible. Thank you. So yeah, let's just talk about it. So, okay, let's just do the tour. Like, let's just start with that. So we'll put that right here. Okay, so there's definitely some crazy background noise, but I have no idea when it'll stop, so we're just gonna go ahead. So you're just welcome over. This is the backyard. I didn't tidy up for you. I'm just trying to be very honest and slightly vulnerable about my slightly sketchy backyard. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a wobbly one. If you are prone to motion sickness, be aware. That giant metal thing is my drying rack. I have like an umbrella drying rack. So yeah, here are the beans. So these are all, there's 4 different varieties of runner beans. You can see they're trying to constantly escape their confines. I keep trimming them back or running them down the trellising, but they just want to fight me. We just cleaned out the peas here. Well, they needed to be cleaned out a while ago, but I just did it. So I'm gonna put in some, I think I'm gonna put in some Shelly beans, or anyway, some sort of bush bean variety, and see how those do, because while my runner beans are gorgeous plant-wise, they just are not producing beans. So apparently this is just a thing that I go through. Here's my sketchy neighbor's house, where those are my raccoon neighbors. Those are not human neighbors. But yeah, we have lazy wife beans, we have some white half runners, we have some, and then some varieties of white half runners that like have been separated out from the like commercial gene pool, so they're specific to regions. And we're seeing how this something Todd half runner. So there's a combination of things you're seeing if you're like, ah, okay, so this is damage from my vinegar rinse. Oops. But there are some wilted vines that you see like in here. Well, you can't see because there's a giant leaf there. Anyway, there's some wilted vines where I just like pulled out some fencing that has been around there to protect the seedlings. And I was in a bit of a tiff when I did it. And so I just ripped them out and killed some bean plants because I'm the worst. So yeah, we have a little bit of, people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, it's a lot, but it's actually not that bad, of Japanese beetle damage. So they're pretty much under control. They seem to be mostly the damage right here. I'm not seeing a lot of damage other places. So, I mean, I've been trying to keep them in check by coming out and squishing them every morning. People are like, oh, you put them in a thing of soap water and they'll die. I'm like, or you could just put on a glove and squish them. Which is very satisfying. Sorry, we are in the city. Well, not sorry. Just be aware we are in the city, so there's lots of traffic noise. But anyways, I'm hoping that we're gonna get some beans as I've started to kind of prune back and, like, you know, stop the crazy beans from growing. I'm hoping that we'll get to focus more on flowering and get flowers growing. These here, we actually started inside, so they are more advanced than the other guys. So maybe they're just, you know, the other guys are just a week behind. Here's our potato plants, which I have no idea. Like, really? Are these bad? Are these good? I don't know. Crops that grow underground are mysterious and confusing. So you can definitely see some of the damage from the vinegar rinse. They seem to be recovering, but you can see, like, I had all of these little pinholes, which I thought were aphids, but might have actually been some sort of fungus gnat, because we dried off, of course, right after I did the vinegar rinse. We really dried out for a week or two, and they seem to have gone away. So I think that was just my mistake of thinking those gnats were like immature aphids. So we'll see. Did you just see? You can't see it, I don't think. I just saw that there's a potato. Oh, you can kind of see it, right? See right there? There's a potato that's sticking up out of the ground. I need to do some little kind of like, it's not really hilling, but just kind of like keeping those in check. And then the most vinegar damage, are you ready? It's kind of startling. The most vinegar damage you can see is on the tomatoes. They've just been the slowest to recover. So I think we're now in 2 weeks or week and a half since I damaged them. And we definitely, you know, I've come through and gotten the worst of the brown off, but some of the plants I didn't take all the brown off because I was just worried that it was going to be too much of a shock. But yeah, there's definitely, yikes, damage. So I've been coming back out and trying to, I should be snipping that and not tearing it, but I'm the worst. So yeah, like, they're pretty sad. Now, some of this brown damage is from that blowdown we had, where I had a lot of damage from that, because my outside vines were pretty much okay, but my inside vines, it was so strange. I was just not anticipating the wind. Kind of, it almost seemed like it came down. Like, I don't know if we had kind of like somewhat like a microburst, but it like pushed all of the central vines down, which I thought were fairly supported, but apparently were not. So some of that damage you're seeing is from actual broken vines that I just couldn't reach very well yet. So that's a lot of me saying that I need to come out and do some work on my tomato plants. Do you hear that? Yeah. Also, here's my exciting workaround for being able to reach in to get access to this middle row of plants. Yeah, super exciting, right? So yeah, we definitely got some guys that are ready to go. I've been trying to pick before I get too red, because if I wait too long, my neighborhood squirrel has a fiesta and he really loves salsa. So he just comes and eats a couple bites and then, you know, goes out and finds some onions somewhere. And, you know, part of the other reason I had blowdown damage, which I was not anticipating, is I hadn't like secured my vines as much, because in the past when I've had tomatoes, I've primarily planted Amish paste, and this year I decided to try another variety, and I apologize, I'll tell you what it is when I get inside, but I just kind of anticipated they would all be a similar size, but they're significantly larger. This other paste tomato is just, and so I wasn't prepared to, my vines just weren't stable enough for those really big tomatoes. Like, see, look at these guys. Like, that is not what I would think of as a paste tomato. So I don't know if in the like hurry to, you know, meet the excess demand created by food shortages related to the pandemic, if, I don't know, but like there's definitely some ginormous tomatoes in here, which I was not anticipating. So, see, and when I say that a squirrel, this guy, if you don't like bugs, don't look. See this guy? See, he would have been so perfect. Look at that. that son of a gun. Right? It would have been so perfect. But somebody got in there and took a good chomp out of him. So I don't mind to lose a few, but if he starts taking more than one an evening, there's gonna be a rustle. I'm like, again, if I could talk to him, I'd be like, I'll put some peanuts out for you. Those are more highly caloric and probably, you know, more exciting. Or if you'd like me to, I could just like pick a tomato and cut part of it off and give it to you. I'd be happy to do that too. But, you know, lack of communication, it's really a problem. So yeah, so then as we continue our sketchy tour, we just had to take down some tree limbs from the front because they were overreaching quite a bit. But here is our wildflower garden, which we're super excited about. So yeah, I have like no idea what any of these things are. They were just a mix. That's not entirely true. Like I know my zinnias, but like I love this little thing. Like what is this? I don't know what it is. It does bloom like this, but I love this little texture. But anyway, we've got lots of good variety. The other thing that I do know is in the center, see those big leaves, like right there? Those are hollyhocks that we have. So I'm excited. I really love hollyhocks. And when the tree that lived here was younger, we actually had a bunch of hollyhocks in the yard, but they've died off. They died off with the tree growing and providing too much shade for them. So I'm excited to get those going. They only bloom every other year, so this year's just a foliage year, which is great because we have all these other guys doing super awesome wildflower things. We probably planted it a little too densely, but it's really hard. Look at how cute that is. Hey there, buddy. So yeah, these guys are super awesome and exciting. See how they... And I did just get, it's actually from a relatively local company that I got our Wildflower Seed mix. And it is supposed to be, you know, full of stuff that's either native to this area or at least, you know, compatible with our insect and butterfly life. Here's a new little guy we need to plant up soon. He's going in a hanging basket. It's like a different kind of zinnia that's like a low mounding zinnia. So, oops, weeds are out of control right there. Oops. And then over here, these are Tova sunflowers, but they just, while they look awesome, they seem to be breaking before they bloom. So I don't know if we're getting birds that are landing on them and breaking down, or if it's just related to storms we've had. But yeah, they're a little bit sad. There's Annie investigating. She's on patrol. And then here are our blackberry vines. This is the first year we've gotten them, so we're trying to just let them grow, develop good root systems. And hopefully next year we'll have a little bit more. And then here's our carrots, which I think we're about ready to take because it's getting kind of hot. Should we risk one? Oh, this one looks like it might be a thing. Oh. Oh, disappointing. Carrots, I tell you, they're so tricky. The first one I picked was beautiful and like so perfectly carrot-like. Since then, we've had less than good luck. Let's see. Let's try this one. Oh, nope, still a baby. Whatever. This is our first attempt at carrots, so maybe we'll just get one beautiful one and then some baby stubs. We'll see. And yes, I do know that this is a tomato cage. This is just temporary. As the canes mature, we'll actually provide them with a better support system. And I do know this tomato cage is upside down. My daughter put it out, so, you know, it's fine. So, and then I guess we could just keep going. These are our peonies that I've done nothing to, but look healthy and wonderful. Some morning glories climbing in there. Some volunteer daylilies. Who knows where they came from. Our little strawberry plants, which are doing actually pretty well. They looked a little bit sad, but I had neglected to water them enough. But now they're looking pretty happy. And then, oh, dead plant. Oopsie. But our friends look happy, so they're going out to live out front as soon as we get the front situation better taken care of. And some astilbe and some hostas, and then our gate. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, I'm looking out right now. The sun has not quite gotten over the house, and it's a little bit cloudy today. So yeah, the garden is just right there. We can see it through these windows. So that's what we're doing. We're just sitting here chatting about the garden. So, okay, so a few things I needed to touch base on after the tour. So here are my varieties of beans that I have currently in the ground. I have white half runners. These are all pole beans. So these are all beans that are vining and need some sort of support. I have white half runners. I have Donald Todd half runners, and I have NT half runners, and then I also have Lazy Wife, which are a runner bean, and those are all, except for the white half runners, are all from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. They're from these folks who have gnomes on their catalog and on this particular package of seeds. I didn't just buy them for the gnomes, but let's face it, it was not a deterrent. Okay? Okay. So let's talk about the beans first, because they're closest to me. So far, the only actual beans I have picked are my Lazy Wifes. And they're called that because they don't have to be strung. You can snap them, but they don't have to string them. If you don't know what that is, if you're not country and you didn't sit around with a paper grocery bag full of beans that you had to snap and peel the strings off of, when you pick a green bean, some green beans, not all of them, to break it into pieces so that you can can it or eat it or cook it or whatever. By the way, just to clarify, let's backpedal for a second. I am not of the people who steam, blanch, lightly cook a green bean. I am of the people who cook the green bean until it is no longer green. It's maybe olive, preferably with like a piece of ham or, you know, just some bacon grease that you keep on the back of the stove. Those are the people I am from. And I like some fancy things. I don't like a squeaky green bean. I'll eat it if I'm in a restaurant, and I've even enjoyed it, but I prefer not to even think of it as a green bean because it feels like a very different veg to me. It's not the veg of my youth. So these are the people that I am from. So just like, let's be clear. I don't know where that came into. Talking about breaking beans, I guess. So yeah, you snap the beans and then there's like a string that goes from one end to the other that you also have to remove. And it just like pulls off. It's not a big deal. But it is, you know, kind of time consuming. Hence, everybody sitting around with a paper grocery bag full of beans that they're breaking so that they can be canned tomorrow. But the Lazy Wifes don't have a string, right? So yeah. That's the difference between those. The other three varieties are pretty much just different varieties of half runners. So they'll probably all have white beans inside the green bean. And so they'll be that, but they're all just like different varieties. Like they're people who originally planted white half runners, but then like saved their own seed so that they like diverged a bit from the commercially available white half runner. So I'm excited to see. I don't have any beans from those yet though. I do think that my method so last year, if you were with me, I had an epic green bean fail. Like I just had plants that went bonkers, but did not actually produce green beans. So I got got information from you that maybe there was too much nitrogen in the soil, or it was just like a little bit too rich, or But what I've done this year is I've moved them to the area where the tomatoes and cucumbers were last year. So hopefully, you know, and I did not fertilize that area at all. So hopefully, I mean, they're still growing like gangbusters. But this year, what I have also done is I have started to, once they start to send up little shoots, I think I talked about this video. So I recorded that like yesterday, so I've already forgotten. But I've been starting to just like snip them off. So hopefully the plant will be like, hey, I can't grow anymore. Let's put some energy into making flowers and therefore beans. And it seems to be working. So this year I've already gotten, I really have not gotten enough for a mess yet, which is just depressing. But maybe it'll happen. But I have already gotten almost more than I got last year, if not more than I got last year. So I think those two things together are working. Yeah, we'll just see how they do. Because what they want to do is they even like want to reach across and like create like a bear. And I think part of it is because like usually when you have beans, you have them in rows, not in garden or in raised beds necessarily. So like they're far apart enough that you can walk through them, and you are walking through them, which prevents them from, you know, linking hands across the row, which I don't think is good for them. Also, it's a good way for Japanese beetles to hide and for you to not even realize that they're eating them. So anyway, so if you saw that Japanese beetle damage the little lacy leaves, that's not great, but it's not horrible. And they do seem to really like those lazy Todd, or not the lazy, sorry, the lazy housewife beans. Like they really seem to like those the most. The other beans have not had any damage at all. And I think I haven't seen any more. I mean, I've seen like 1 or 2 beetles. I definitely have some June bugs out there that are being mischievous, but they seem to be okay. So we'll see what happens with those. So that's pretty much the information on beans. What do I have them trellising on? I just have them trellising on this like, it's like garden trellis netting, like it's actually marketed as that. And I am so surprised. We actually had it up last year for supports for beans and cucumbers. And I kind of thought maybe I used it again I'd left it out all year. I did not bring it in to like protect it. I left it out all year and it's still in excellent condition. So yeah, that was a good investment in terms of, I thought it was gonna maybe not, but it's, yeah. Anyway, so there's that. Then we saw potatoes. Those are primarily Kennebec potatoes that I got as seed potatoes this year. There are a few that we just started from like some organic potatoes that we had left over, that just had gotten eyes on them. And at first the Kennebecs looked beautiful. They were like upright and super green, and I was so excited. They were looking so healthy. But then like, I don't know. I think maybe we had a fungus gnat, cause there's like this like bug. Like you couldn't see the bug, you could just kind of see like a combination of bugs moving kind of thing. So I think that might have been, at the time I thought they were aphids, like immature aphids. And so because I was on the prowl for aphids, because last year my tomatoes got aphids on them. And so I've been like on the watch. And so I kind of thought they were those. So one of the treatments for aphids is to use the internet told me, is to use a 50-50 white vinegar water mixture, and then you either spray it or wipe it on the leaves. Now, you do want to be aware that that mixture will kill your beneficial insects as well as your pests. But other than bees, I don't have ladybugs. I don't have like good guys out there fighting for me in the garden. Maybe next year we'll get some ladybugs to bring in. Or praying mantises. That's what this is. You knew what that was. Don't act like you didn't know. But this year we don't really have any. So I was so excited. I had purchased this like spray bottle for like gardening, and it's one that you like pump, and then it like creates pressure inside the vessel, and then instead of like a spray bottle where you have to like constantly do this, like, come on, I'm a knitter, I get like the tendonitis, like I gotta, so, but you just like pump it and then spray it. I thought, oh, that'll probably be okay. And then I actually did it, and I was so excited because like you pump it up and then you spray it, and I thought it would be like psh. No, it's like psh. It sprays for like a minute. It was so exciting. So I was feeling very smug about my aphid slaughter. I was really excited about it, and I thought maybe a Japanese beetle might die, like in friendly fire. It was not friendly fire. Something that's the opposite of that. Like coincidentally. He might also bite the dust. So I was like, yeah. I was feeling super smug and very excited. And then the next day, when I went out to check, it looked like somebody had set my plants on fire. What happened? I don't know if I just had slightly more than 50-50. I don't think I did, but it's possible that I just, in my zeal, but it burnt the bejesus out of my plants. They totally had little acid burns all over them. You can still see it in the video. And again, that had been like, you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks before. They looked super pitiful like the next day. I think everything is pretty much recovering. Although, you know, it might have caused like a delay in things as plants were like, what the? I thought I was doing good things for you, plant. The fungus gnats went away. So yeah, I don't know. My potatoes still look kind of pitiful. Like the internet says maybe they look leggy because they had too much fertilizer in them, but they didn't look leggy at first. Like, you know, when you have seedlings that look leggy, like they are leggy at the beginning, but yeah, I don't know. But they don't look super like happy and upright and robust. They are kind of leggy. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe the gnats messed with them. I don't know. So after I recorded the garden, I recorded this for you. Look, y'all. Okay, so I showed you the potatoes. I was so nervous about how anemic and terrible they looked. Because again, I don't really know what the reality of what they look like is. Like, I know what a picture of the plant looks like, but like, you know, that's like the picture of a quarter pounder on the menu at McDonald's. Like, that's not what it actually looks like in working life. So I just went ahead and picked the plant that looked kind of like the most pitiful. And look, I dug her up and there's all these little potato babies in there. Right? This guy right here is the only one that doesn't look happy and healthy. He obviously had a bubble up above the ground, and so he's a little green right there. But like, these other guys seem healthy, I think, right? Look how baby this one is. Eek. So I don't know. I'm going to eat them tonight and see what happens. But like, maybe if I don't freak out and just let the other ones do what they're doing, maybe we'll have potatoes. Eek. So yeah, I totally have potatoes. So usually you wait to harvest potatoes. Like, you can harvest them anytime after okay. I say these things like I know them in my heart. I know them from the internet, so like completely correct me if I'm wrong. Or like you have a different opinion. You can technically harvest potatoes like anytime after they flower, but you'll get the little, you know, you're gonna get little tiny buddies like this guy. But usually you wait until they kind of die off. So usually you're thinking about later in the year, like closer to like fall. But yeah, we're just gonna wait and see what happens. This is our first time. Last year I was gifted some seed potatoes but they never made it. I think it was too rainy last year when I had put them out, and they just kind of like rotted in the ground. So I was very excited that these actually did something this year. And I'll be honest with you, even digging up that one little vine was such a thrill, because like there was just food in my dirt. What? That's super exciting. So even though I was really ready, after I burnt my plants all up with my vinegar, and like, let me just discuss, like every time I go outside I get like 27 mosquito bites. I know that I'm supposed to just like put on pants and a long sleeve shirt, and I should just do that every time I go outside, but I'm lazy and I don't, and it's hot. It's not even that bad. But anyway, I'm just lazy. I'm lazy. So I need to get in the habit. Maybe I just need to like put my coveralls down here. Maybe that'll make me think that it's whatever. I need to just put clothes on when I go outside. More clothes than I usually wear. I don't go outside naked. I have too close to neighbors. Also, the raccoons would be scandalized. So I was just having like a few days where I was like so sick of being bitten up by mosquitoes. And we had the terrible self-inflicted acid rain. And then, so now we'll move on to tomatoes. Then last year I had my tomatoes just like alternating tomato cages, and then also I had like a fence around the boxes. So last year my failing in tomatoes, I had a lot of great tomatoes. I got tomatoes, tons of tomatoes to can. We actually are still eating tomatoes that we canned last year. But because I planted them like square foot gardening style, and I did not prune the plants. I was just excited that they were growing like so crazily, and it was like a very small jungle in my backyard. But because of that, like I got aphids before I knew that they were out of control before I even noticed that I had them. And then B, later in the season I got less productivity, I think because the foliage was so dense that it was like blocking light for other plants, and it was hard to see what I needed to harvest because it was like too dense, and then the bugs. So this year my mantra was pruning, and I did really good at the beginning until the heat and the bugs made me slip up a little bit. But this year, instead of that support system, I decided to put up, we just had some like 4-foot galvanized fencing. And so we just ran that between T-poles to see if that would work. So outside plants were fairly well supported, but again, as I talked about in the video, like before when I've had paste tomatoes, they were all little small ones like that Amish paste. And actually this year I tried to figure out like what those giant tomatoes are. To be honest with you, Tova helped me plant. I'm pretty confident that they are these Bisignano. I think they're these guys that are humongous. Well, compared to my Amish paste tomatoes. Which is, it's not a problem. In fact, it's actually quite excellent in terms of like, that's like, you have to core each tomato before you process it. So it's like fewer things to touch. So it makes the process faster. We'll see how they do texture and flavor wise. But because of that, I just have not, in my head, I was thinking about those smaller tomatoes, and they require less support. Like you don't have to support like the one branch that has tomatoes on it. You could just support the main branch of the plant. But these guys need like individual attention for their like giant branches of tomatoes. So that combined with the fact that I had just been putting off like supporting the middle tomatoes because they seemed like they were okay and I hadn't tied them up yet. We had this crazy storm. Now I'm in almost the city. Like I'm inside the Beltway. I stood on my garage's roof. I could see downtown. So that, I have a house in the front, I have a garage on the back, and privacy fence on either side. You know, we have storms because we're in the Midwest, but we had like a crazy like storm that pushed down. And like, I was accustomed to storms that go this way. This one was pushing down. So every tomato that had not been really like perfectly supported just got blown down. And they all, most of them had big fruit on them. And so I was just like, that combined with like the acid rain and all of the bugs, I was just like, I am done. And my beans that are not really producing a lot, and my potatoes looking kind of weak and spindly. I was just like, that is it. I am gonna cut it all out. So for like a good 2 or 3 days, I just fantasized, oh, hey, fat bumblebee. He's eating my hanging basket flowers. Oh, hey, Bubbles. I was really fantasizing about just taking it out. Just leaving my little wildflower patch, and everything else was just gonna fall under the knife. But I stepped away for a few days. Luckily we had a few days where it was like a high of 82 and the humidity wasn't too bad. So I went out there, cut some holes in my galvanized fencing so I could reach through like I was a scientist, reaching through with my gloves into like the special germ infested box thing to do my manipulation. I like cut some holes in my fence so I could get into those middle rows and get those guys tied up. Got some more weeding done, did some more pruning so that there would be good airflow through the bottom of my tomato plants. Now we have not burned anything down. We're going to just keep going and see what happens. But next year we may just plant flowers. I don't know. Or like, maybe I could just like plant a bunch of bush beans. Those have always done well for me in the past. But maybe potatoes will do really well. That would be super exciting. Another thing that failed for me this year is I really loved this popcorn that I got from Rancho Gordo. They had this red popcorn, which was so... I'm kind of a popcorn fiend. Like, I love good popcorn. And it's probably the best popcorn I've ever had. And then the pandemic happened, and like, there's like, it's like $3.50 for a pound, which is, you know, shipping is like $7. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those situations where unless you buy $50 worth of popcorn, which might be a little bit too crazy, although I did think about it. I was like, I could give it as gifts. This is me parenthetically. I totally play this farming game. It's called Harvest Moon. Now it's called Story of Seasons, but it used to be called Harvest Moon. It's like a long-lived series of deep love. And in the game, not that this is not a common mechanic. In the game, you give gifts to villagers so that they'll like you better. I know it sets a really bad precedent, but you know, it's a video game. You can't, yeah. You also get them to like you by just talking to them. It's not just giving gifts, but let's face it, gifts. And so I was just imagining myself like running around with my backpack of popcorn. Just like, hello. Just giving it to people. And then some people will be like, oh my gosh, this is great. And some people will be like, because that's how the game works. Anyway. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to experiment and just try to grow this popcorn, because wouldn't that be like the most amazing thing ever? Like if I could actually get this. Story short, we germinated it inside until we got plants. Like we got very poor germination, like only maybe 50% germination. And then I planted about 14 tiny seeds, and only 2 of them made it. So that's not enough for pollination. was going to be really exciting. But maybe next year I'll just plant like bush beans and popcorn, like from an actual seed. I have some even. Maybe that's what I'll do next. By the way, I have found that the Amish red popcorn is a pretty good substitution for the Rancho Gordo red popcorn, but the Rancho Gordo red popcorn is the best for me personally. It's subjective. What were we even talking about, y'all? Right? Thanks for coming over. So yeah, the tomato, I really was ready just to cut everything down. I mean, I've had enough to do sauce with on my tomatoes, but I still haven't had enough to can. We'll see what happens, yo. Let's see what happens. I'm really so thankful. Oh my gosh. Like, gardening, while it's super frustrating and not cheap, it is one of those things that gets much more affordable as time goes on, right? Like, it has a hefty initial investment. I mean, it's like anything. You can go whole hog and just put tons of actual dollars into it, or you can kind of like cobble things together and put a lot of sweat equity into it. But whatever the case, it takes an investment of some sort. So there's multiple things I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for my pickles because I'm still eating pickles from last year and they're still delicious. That's been my most, I don't know, the candied jalapenos are pretty sad. Oh, but they're not from my garden, so never mind. I really do like candied jalapenos though, just saying. But it's I'm like, it's enjoyable. Like, it is digging at those potatoes was wicked exciting. And last year, like, when I got corn that made corn, wicked exciting. I'm not sure that the investment of whatever money and labor and heartache totally I'm not sure that it's actually less than the joy. But it probably is. It's probably more joyful. Okay, so I'm going to put this in. As I was editing, my ramble was less coherent than normal. What I want to say is I'm very thankful for gardening for many reasons. One of them is pickles, my favorite. One of them is surprise food in the ground. How exciting is that? One of them is the smugness that I feel when I go into the basement and see things that I've canned on the shelf. Go into the very sketchy basement. To see things I've canned, which is I just feel smug as all get out when I get to take things upstairs. Like, we're weirdly framed because I already put away the tripod, so I'm hunching down to talk to you. But ultimately, like, I am so also very grateful that I have this experience so that I can know how much to appreciate the people who grow our food. How appreciative I am of all of the ancestors that have come before me that have somehow staked their entire family's being on being able to grow enough food for themselves for the year, because quite frankly that seems astonishing. Like, I can't believe we're here. Like, how has that happened? It makes you so appreciative for ancestors who, like, just didn't die of dehydration. Right? But really, it gives me deep appreciation. It gives me deep appreciation when I do go to the farmer's market, or I am able to access locally grown foods, and, you know, they're 3 or 4 times the price. It makes me understand that, and I am very appreciative of that. I'm very appreciative of both of those things, that A, I have the access to that, if not always the ability to support it as much as I would like to. But B, just that I can even know that there's a reason that I can live in a place that is thankful, and not think that that's overpriced or that that's not worth it, because it is not, and it is, you know what I mean. So I'm grateful that gardening has given me that truth and that ability to be thankful for the folks who do have a talent for this, who, you know, have found it to be, you know, what they would like to do, because it's certainly not paying them in an exciting way, in a financially exciting way. So I'm very appreciative, and I hope that as we move forward with that understanding and that appreciation for people, that we'll see more people go into agriculture and more people go into feeding people in a sustainable and like spiritually healthy way, not just a calorically healthy way. So, all right. So anyway, all right, I think that's enough. I wish you could see the insane, here, I'll just show it to you. I don't want to move the camera because it's a pain. But like, here, we'll just show you the absolute ridiculousness that is this table. Do you see all of the seed packets on my table? I didn't grow all these things this year. This is just in the collection. Oh my gosh. All right, gotta go out and get that June bug. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.